Hi parents, this video is to give you a little bit more information about the kindergarten readiness screener given at our school yearly. It's called the Brigance Screener and it's given within the first 15 days of the school year. You are very soon going to be receiving a letter and an attached report that will give you information about your child's results on this year's screener. I'd like to go through the presentation a little bit for you. It's very quick. And then I'm going to show you a link to watch a sample 5-year-old student go through the screener so you can know exactly what your child did as a part of the screener and give you a little bit more information. So the Brigance Screener, so Brigance is a company that has created this assessment, also known as a screener. And back in 2010, the Governor's Early Childhood Task Force decided that it would be a good idea if all students entering kindergarten in the state of Kentucky received the same assessment so that the state could get a better idea of how ready kids were for schooling in the state of Kentucky. It would really help us make decisions about early childhood education in the state, specifically preschool education in the state. So this is State Regulation 704 KAR 5070. And that's what guides the implementation of this particular screener. The Brigance Screener is aligned with Kentucky's school readiness definition and with the early childhood standards in the state of Kentucky. All the data that we receive as a part of giving the screener is used to ensure that all children receive appropriate instruction to meet their individual needs beginning in kindergarten. So what that means is that when we have the data, really, there's nothing, there's no penalty, there's no consequence. It's just basically so that we can gather data and say, here are the things that this child is really good at, and here are the things that this child needs some help with, so that we can structure their day to allow us to fill those holes of the things that maybe they are not doing as well in. And this is not used in isolation. Teachers from K through 12 use a multitude of assessments and assignments and things that the kids do in class to give them a good idea of how well a child is learning the information and how they need to change their instruction as a teacher. So what I mean by not used in isolation is the Brigance is not the only thing that we use to determine whether or not a child is doing well in school or has some gaps that need to be filled. The Brigance Screener itself has a lot of different areas in which kids are assessed, although there's not a voluminous amount of items on the test. And as you'll see when you see the demonstration, it's not all paper pencil. A lot of it is verbal and some of it is demonstration with the fine motor and gross motor. So the sections are fine motor, which is things like being able to write. So, can they hold a pencil? Can they write their name? There's a piece of the assessment where they also are asked to draw shapes. Gross motor is, do they have control over their body? So gross motor is like big motor. Running, jumping, skipping, hopping, walking toe to toe, balancing. Language is, do they have some level of control, as a 5-year-old would, over the word choice that they use or how they refer to things, the pronouns maybe that they use. Academic skills are going to be things that involve being able to identify letters or being able to determine quantities of numbers. So just for example, it may be there are some blocks and the student is asked to tell you how many blocks there are when there are 3 set aside for them. So they kind of have a number to quantity correspondence that they've started to create during their first 5 years of life. Cognitive skills are just their ability to understand and comprehend what we're asking them to be able to do. Self-help skills would be things like, is this child able to use the restroom by themselves? Can they zip up their coats? Can they tie their shoes? Things like that. And social emotional skills are more or less how kids can adjust to a group of people in general. Do they have good social skills? Are they able to control their emotions? Do they use the appropriate emotions at the right times? So these are all the types of questions that are actually asked of the students. They state their name, they state their phone number, They state their address. They can name parts of their body. They demonstrate gross motor skills, and they draw shapes. They write their name. They recite, not sing, the alphabet. They sort objects into things that are large, things that are small, for instance. They can count beginning at 1 and maybe continuing. They can match quantities with numerals. They can determine a total of 2 sets of objects. So perhaps we have 3 blocks and we have 3 more blocks. They're able to tell us that there are 6 blocks altogether. They can read uppercase letters, and they can demonstrate how to hold a book so it's not upside down perhaps, and they may be aware that text is read from left to right. So it should be mentioned that this is given within the first 15 days of school. That's what's mandated by the state to give us an idea of how they entered school. It's given by either the kindergarten teacher or an assistant, and it is given one-on-one with the student. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to administer the Brigance assessment. So I found a video, really great video, to show you a sample of a kindergarten teacher giving an assessment to a 5-year-old student. And I'm going to post this video on our school website, and so you can watch it later. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it right now.
Your name? Sharon. Charlie. Charlie, how old are you? 5. Okay. And what is your birthday? June 20th. June 20th. What is your telephone number? I'm trying to think of it. Okay. Okay. Now here's the bottom part. What is this called? And what is this? Finger. Nail. Okay. And what is this? Chin. And what is this? Chest. What is this? Fist. What is this? Shoulder.
So we won't continue and watch the entire screening, but like I said, I will post this video for you, and I'll post this link as a part of the video, so you can go directly to it from our school webpage. I'm going to put it in the news section for you, so it should be in the main part of our school webpage to make it easy for you to find. You're going to get a letter that's going to let you know the basics about the screener and whether or not after the screening was completed, if your child was determined to be ready or not ready for kindergarten. Now, I do not want you to freak out about this. It does not matter if it says not ready. If it came back to us as not ready, that doesn't mean that your child is no longer going to attend kindergarten, and it doesn't really mean anything in particular other than there are some gaps that we want to fill. Now, we also keep in mind that there are children who are particularly shy, who maybe don't test well at the beginning of the year because they need to warm up to the people that they're around. In the past, we have seen students who have tested as not ready, but by the second month of school, we realize that that's just not an accurate assessment of that particular student because they weren't necessarily comfortable when they did the screening to begin with. Sometimes we actually have the opposite. We have kids that score extraordinarily well, and it could be a multitude of reasons. Maybe they were coached on the assessment before they were given it, so maybe they had a relative who has given a Brigance before and really kind of coached them through all those answers, but they weren't necessarily prepared to do all the things that we would expect a kindergartner to be able to do. Or sometimes they have overheard another student in screening, although we usually try to separate the students so they do get a very valid read on that assessment. Or sometimes we just have students that just have a little bit of a late start. And I think that's what I want to mention to you more than anything, is that these years between kindergarten and 3rd grade are so critically important for us to remember as teachers, administrators, and parents, that children all develop at different rates. So oftentimes I will hear parents get very upset if their child is not able to read by the end of first grade. And sometimes people are upset if they can't read by the end of kindergarten. That is not necessarily a child problem. Every single student those things are going to click at different times. And so we try to make sure that we say that up front, that, there should be no hard and fast expectation when we're dealing with the primary years, because kids really all develop at different rates. So if you get a letter that says not ready for kindergarten, there are areas we want to focus on, and there are things that you could do at home to support the things that we're doing at school, but that is not a reason for you to be alarmed. It's not a reason for you to be overly concerned. It's just maybe some talking points with the teacher so you guys can get on the same page. And you may find if the teacher says, well, they were determined to not be ready for kindergarten because of their gross motor skills and their fine motor skills, we may determine that the parent has some information that would give us, a better idea as to why those things might be. So usually when we give this screener, sometimes parents get a little concerned when they see the results. And I just want to reassure you to not stress out about this and to really just look at this as just a simple screening that we do when your child starts school, so we can start to see where are the items that we could start focusing in on the most. And then for you, the items that you could start supporting at home also. So we'd have a good connection between school and home. Sorry this video was 11.5 minutes long. That's kind of long for us, but we really appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, please never, ever, ever hesitate to ask one of your child's teachers, an assistant, or any member of our leadership team, which would be our assistant principal, or either of our 2 school counselors or our instructional coach. Thanks for watching.